What's going on, ladies and gents, boys and girls, guardians of all ages, Joker back again, once again. And as they say, in a game of buffs and nerfs, you either win or you die. And boy oh boy, there's a lot of shit dying. In fact, this is like the red wedding of nerfs. Too much? Not enough? Who knows? Things were really looking up for Bungie. We got the Outbreak Perfected quest, which is universally praised. Hype was building for Destiny 3 and Season of Opulence. The Invitation of the Nine storyline was coming to an end, and we were finally seeing the pyramid ships brought into the forefront of Destiny's story. But in classic Bungie fashion, they decide, you know what? This is too much good press. Things are looking way too up for us. Let's go ahead and nerf everybody's favorite weapons. Nerf all the things! And originally, looking at the patch notes, I thought, there's no fucking way that this is happening. This cannot be real. That Bungie is testing the limits. They're putting this out there, they're gonna get community feedback, and they're not gonna implement changes like this. There's no fucking way this will happen. They just wanna see how far they can test the water before we push back. Unfortunately, those hopes were dashed against the wall like baby Aegon's head during the sack of King's Landing. Too much? Not enough? I'm sorry, I've been watching way too much Game of Thrones, I do apologize. After the announcement, DMG04 took to the Bungie forums to assure us that these changes weren't just testing the limits, that these will, in fact, be in the update. So let's go over the changes and see what my hot takes are. First one up, Whisper of the Worm. Whisper of the Worm was already adjusted in Season of the Drifter, but an exotic that can generate an infinite amount of heavy ammo is still a gigantic outlier, and renders many weapons irrelevant for certain encounters. While exotics are intended to be powerful and novel, bypassing the ammo economy can tend to force us to adjust enemies to compensate. This effectively results in sniper rifles as a whole being punished because Whisper's unique ammo ability. As a result, we're removing the ammo generation ability so that we can increase the effectiveness of all other snipers that don't have endless ammo supply. Where the fuck have I seen this before? It's almost like I'm suffering from a case of goddamn deja vu. It's almost like we've been here before. It's almost like this exact same thing happened in Destiny 1 with Black Hammer. It's almost like they should have seen this coming. It's almost like they should have known how this gun would affect encounters when they brought it back. Because we've done this song and dance before. This is literally the exact same nerf that they gave this exact same gun in Destiny 1. And now it doesn't even actually have an exotic perk. I mean, not only is it a heavy sniper, but now its air quote exotic perk simply does the exact same thing as standing next to a rally barricade or in a lunafaction well. Who's gonna be using this? Oh, but Joker, it has 18 rounds and whispered breathing. I don't give a fuck. There are a lot better options in the heavy slot than Whisper. Whisper was only good because it had infinite ammo. And this idea that it outclasses every other sniper, so much so that nobody's using any other sniper because Whisper's just that good, is fucking stupid. I'm just not gonna use Alone as a God while I'm sitting here fighting a raid boss. I'm sorry. I'm gonna use the weapon that does a lot of damage over time and consistently does that damage. I'm gonna use the best loadout. And it's not my fault all the other snipers in the game fucking suck. Look, you don't want power creep, and I get it. And so the mentality of just buff everything to Whisper's level is actually kind of absurd because you don't want that. Nobody wants that. Even though they say they want that, they don't want that. Anyone who has ever played Pokemon on a semi-competitive level, or anybody who's ever played a card game like Yu-Gi-Oh! Magic the Gathering, any of that, you know that power creep is bad. So yeah, I understand trying to avoid power creep, but trying to say that Whisper invalidates all other snipers, when the reality is all other snipers tend to invalidate all other snipers, because snipers just in general are useless in this game, it's a bad argument. Make better snipers. Make more interesting snipers. And then when you go to nerf it, Bungie, you don't think of an intelligent nerf. What you could have done is, I don't know, maybe just make it Icebreaker. For those of you who do not know what Icebreaker is, Icebreaker was a Destiny 1 exotic that regenerated ammo over time. But instead of doing something intelligent, they just give it the exact same nerf they gave it in Destiny 1, In Destiny 1, that was still a super hard nerf, but it didn't make the weapon useless. In Destiny 2, reloading without reloading, constantly chambering ammo, is part of the meta. That's part of the game. That's how we play it. There's abilities and abilities and abilities and builds that do this all day, every day. So making that the exotic perk of a weapon is pointless. It's really, really pointless. And the only reason that I can see this nerf being implemented the way it is to remove Whisper from the game without removing it from the game. And this is being done to artificially increase the difficulty of the new raid, which I think is why most of these nerfs are being done, because they decided to put the new raid out day one. But fuck it, moving forward. Next on our docket, they're nerfing Sleeper Simulant? Wait, what? When was the last time anyone actually used Sleeper? Next thing you're gonna tell me they're gonna be nerfing Sins of the Past. But okay, what did they do? The reduction of bounce shot damage for Sleeper Simulant is already present on several important enemies. We are now making this reduction part of the weapon. The difference in damage is too large between a single precision shot for Sleeper and an angled shot that pierces the target and then also hits the target again with the bouncing projectiles. Much like Whisper, we had to adjust enemies around that potential. By making these changes a permanent part of the weapon, we can get it into a more balanced position. So, a couple of things, like, fuck, who is using Sleeper? I don't know whether to be mad at the nerf of Sleeper or mad at the 5 people still using it. Second, have you ever been reading something and it just sounds like the biggest load of bullshit you've ever read in your life? That's what this nerf sounds like. Like, who is using Sleeper? I keep asking that, and that sounds like a facetious question, but it's not. I don't remember the last time I saw a Sleeper in a raid, in Gambit, even in PvP. And sure, I know I'm gonna have people in the comments going, "But Joker, that's a gross generalization. Sleeper's my favorite weapon. I use it all the time." Hey, more power to you. I'm glad you enjoy the weapon. As far as the meta goes, however, people don't use it. It's one of those things like, wait, what? I can only assume that this nerf exists because they fear people are going to use this for high damage potential because they nerf Sleeper. But what's next? Thunderlord? Personally speaking, I think that this nerf is stupid. If you get kills, bouncing shots off things, more power to you. You deserve it. Like, that's the point of the gun. That has always been the point of the gun. That's why it does that. But then somebody goes, oh man, oh gosh, golly, gee, darn whiz, something, something. It's really hard to balance encounters around weapons that are powerful, that we designed to be powerful. Because reasons. What more can I say about a weapon that they nerfed that nobody uses until I see more of why they potentially nerfed it, which I think, again, has to do with the raid. Lord of Wolves received a massive increase in damage with the full benefit of the shotgun changes in Season of the Drifter. This made it a lot more popular, but we've gotten a significant amount of feedback that released the wolves activating on every kill made it difficult to control ammo consumption. As a result, we're allowing you to swap between the two states to control the output, while also reducing its output slightly. PvE damage reduced by 20%. Release the Wolves perk has been reworked, no longer triggers automatically on kill. This effect is now triggered by holding the reload similar to the Fundamentals on Hard Light and Borealis. I don't understand this nerf. Who was complaining about ammo consumption on the highest DPS shotgun in the game? It's almost like ammo consumption and damage output go hand in hand. If the complaint was ammo consumption while you're running around fighting ads, you know what, I kinda get it. Now you can switch between modes of fire. Fine, fair enough, cool. What I don't understand is the random 20% damage nerf on top of that. They fixed a problem, and then they nerfed it. Oh yeah, there's also gonna be a catalyst that gives it more ammo. So, what? What? I have to assume that this 20% damage nerf is in preparation for that catalyst that gives it more ammo. But if that's the case, why give it a catalyst that gives it more ammo if you're just gonna nerf it 20% to make up for the fact that you're giving it more ammo? That's kind of stupid. You're nerfing it so you can buff it back into the same place it was. And that's what I think is gonna happen with our next nerf, the Ace of Spades. I'm gonna be real, I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna be real honest. Anyone who thought that Luna's Howl and Not Forgotten were gonna get nerfed and Ace of Spades was gonna remain untouched was fucking delusional. So let's see what they did. The post says, Ace of Spades is pretty hot in the Crucible, on PC and only on PC, and and it has been since its inclusion in Destiny 2 Forsaken. The number of perks on the weapon, combined with the semi-permanent effect of Memento Mori, gives the weapon too many advantages compared to other weapons. You know how you fix Ace of Spades so it's irrelevant on PC? Because that's the only place it's relevant. Give it a stupid amount of recoil and bloom, and then no one will ever use it. Just like no one uses it on console. Now that Memento Mori ends when you stow the weapon, you'll need to make a decision on whether or not you'll keep the weapon drawn to retain its bonus. Memento Mori now ends when the weapon is stowed. The PvP damage bonus of Memento Mori was slightly reduced to prevent two-tapping Guardians, while Vengeance, One-Eyed Mask, was active. Specifically, you'll need 4 resilience to survive this. Memento Mori is active for 6 shots again, up from 5. So this nerf really isn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, and like I said with the Lord of Wolves, I would not be surprised if this nerf is undone by the catalyst. I can actually see this meeting, where you got a couple of developers that are in a room and they're like, man, we really want to give all the Year 2 exotics catalysts. And then they get to Ace of Spades and they're like, aw shit, fuck, it already does everything, what do we do? So they nerf it just so they can unnerf it. This would not surprise me in the least. Now, on to my controversial opinion about super regeneration exotics. They are a little ridiculous, both in PvE and in PvP. I know I'm gonna rustle some jimmies here by saying I don't think they should be in the game at all. I think you should be forced to use your super wisely and tactfully, and I don't think you should get your super back for using your super. That's kinda stupid. It's not like this is a melee or a grenade. This is your super. It's supposed to be super. Hashtag make super special again. That doesn't mean I'm not unsympathetic to basically every class that has to rely on it because all their other exotics suck. That's not your fault, that's Bungie's fault. And this issue keeps getting compounded by the fact that anytime we do get new exotic armor, it's something stupid like, you can guard with your sword without using heavy ammo! Yay! Who cares? And I think what's happening here is Bungie doesn't understand that. What they're doing is they're looking at this data, and they're seeing that all these super refund exotics are the only things being used, and everything else isn't being touched. So they're going, well, clearly, these things are overpowered. No, they're not overpowered, they're just the only option. This is one of those situations where, technically speaking, I have no problem with seeing each and every one of these exotics nerfed. For example, the Skull of Dire Ahamkara. You can run in, kill a bunch of ads, and you get your super back immediately. I don't think that should be a thing. What I do think is it should be the Celestial Nighthawk for Voidwalkers. You get this really, really super powerful Nova Bomb, and if you kill something with it, you get 33% of your super back. I think that's fair, but that's not what's going to happen. We're not going to see intelligent redesigns to these exotics. All we'll see is blanket nerfs because blanket nerfs are easier. But what's even worse is if history repeats itself, we won't be given a reason to stop using these exotics. The reason that these exotics are so prevalent is because Bungie hasn't given us a reason not to use them by introducing other really powerful, really interesting exotics. Because here's the thing, even after this nerf to these exotics, they're still going to be the only option, and that's really the problem. And without compelling alternatives, you're just neutering classes. And like I was saying when I was talking about Whisper of the Worm, I have a suspicion that most of this was done for the raid, or that a lot of this was done because Bungie just couldn't come up with exotics that were better, so why would they waste their time coming up with new exotics if nobody's going to use them? But hey, those are just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. And like always, stay frosty.